All right, welcome to our Continual Service Improvement using benchmark surveys and assessments, Jakarta enhancements. Today we are going to have Manjeet Singh join us, and my name is Ann Barnes. You can go to the next slide. So Manjeet's a project manager for our ITSM applications. He has 15 years of experience in enterprise software and been with ServiceNow for over a year. His current focus is to build the next version of benchmarks and ITSM insight applications for continuous service improvements. My name is Ann Barnes, and I'm a customer and partner experience manager with the ITSM business unit at ServiceNow. And I have over 15 years of experience in working with ITSM. Next. So the audience for this webinar is attended for CIOs and IT executives, your CSI, Customer Service Improvement Manager or Practitioner, process owners, IT managers, implementation specialists, and anyone who really wants to learn about new Jakarta features. Our agenda today is to discuss what's new in surveys and assessments, what's new in benchmarks, how benchmarks can help you, how integrated benchmarks, performance analytics, and surveys and assessments will help drive continuous service improvement. And at the end, we'll do a question and answer session. A few housekeeping lines here. All of the attendee lines are muted. During this webinar, please use the Q&A panel to ask questions and direct the questions to all panelists. At the end of the webinar, you'll receive a short survey, and if you could help us with your feedback on these webinars, we would appreciate it. If you're watching this as a recording, please ask questions by posting comments on the webinar page on the ITSM community, and someone will respond to you. So now I'm going to turn the discussion over to Manjeet, and he's going to discuss what's new in surveys and assessments. Thank you, Manjeet.
All right. Thank you, Ann. Hello, everyone. So the first topic of our agenda today is look into what is new in our survey and assessment application. So survey and assessment is not net new. These two applications exist into ServiceNow platform from a couple of years. And what survey and assessment helps you with is to get the customer satisfaction and the quality evaluation on your service performance. So we have been continuously making investment, particularly in the last two releases, the Istanbul release and the Jakarta release. We made significant investment to improve the overall survey applications, starting from how to create the survey and assessment easily, how to visualize the reports, and most importantly, how to make the end user experience much better so that you can improve your survey response rate, which is very critical. So what we did in Jakarta release is we brought the survey and assessment as part of the service portal. And as we know, service portal is built based on the responsive design. It is fully mobile friendly. And you can have the survey and assessment widget, which is available out of the box, and add into any of your service portal, so customer don't have to go into multiple places to take the surveys. Another enhancement we made was around the improvement in the survey and assessment designer. So earlier there were some performance-related issues. If you load up a really big 200 or 300 plus question surveys into the designer, it was taking a long time to load up and make the edit. So we have fixed all those issues, and the performance is much better now. Third point here is the pagination support. So this is helpful if you are designing really long survey and assessments, this has been a continuous ask from our customer, saying, hey, if the survey is really long, all the questions are showing up on one page, and there's a lot of scrolling, and this is potentially impacting the response rate, because if the survey is really long, customer likely to skip it. And also, there was no flexibility in terms of if you want to paginate your survey per questions or per category, or want to render the entire survey into a single page. So you have given this granular control in your survey setup, and I'll be demoing all these functionality in a minute. Another enhancement we made is now survey and assessment applications are fully domain separated support. So if you are a partner, or if you support, if you have multi-domain setup on your instance, now you don't have to create multiple copies of survey and assessment. Particularly, it is more useful in the assessment because there you create a master copy of your assessment on your parent domain, and that can be used by all the other child domains. So we removed the restriction of having all the records within the same domain. Now it can be shared. So that can help you define the standard survey and assessment templates that can be used by other domains that exist on your ServiceNow instance. And now you can assign a single assessment record to multiple people, and this is very powerful and useful in the sense, let's say if I have one assessment to assess the different projects, and I need inputs from the finance group, I need inputs from the marketing or other cross-functional BUs, then I can define my stakeholder and assign the single assessment, and the assessment taker will see only their respective part which they are assigned to, and can give the response instead of looking up the entire assessments.
Manjeet, tell me, what is the difference between surveys and assessments, and when would I use one or the other?
Very good question, Anne. I think I've seen this question on the community multiple times. So survey is mainly useful when you want to get a feedback on an activity you have done, right? To get the customer satisfaction feedback. So more typical use case in the ITSM is when a ticket is closed by the service desk, you want to get a feedback if the reportee is happy with or the issue has been resolved, and how are the service experience. And you can use the survey for other, like the periodic, getting this CSAT score, sending out the NPS type of questions, the Net Promoter Score type questions. But it is mainly in response to you did some work, or you want to get a periodic feedback. Assessment, however, goes a little deeper. So assessment is usually tied to an actual record in the ServiceNow, so it has to have a record. So when I say record, it means that it could be a list of projects, it could be a list of vendors, and then if you want to make an evaluation or if you want to rank these different projects and different vendors, that's when the assessment is very powerful, because there you can create the assessment against those different records. For example, I have 3 different vendors, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, and I want to do an evaluation based on the different categories, like how is their responsiveness, how is their the quality, and you design your assessment in that way. And when you look at the results in assessment, so what assessment does is it gives you a normalized ranking score, which is not possible in the survey. So assessment is useful for where you want to compare things, and if you want to rank the results into one place from the multiple records, and it has to have the records.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so let me do a quick demo. I think that will be interesting part to show how easy it is to create and design surveys. So survey and assessment applications are 2 different modules in the ServiceNow platform. We still have the legacy survey in the product. We plan to deprecate it in the future releases, but any new enhancement we are making, they are only on the new survey and assessment applications. So we are not making even the bug fixes are also moved to only the new version. So let's look at how to design a survey. So you go to the survey designer, which is a nice plug and play survey design canvas. Okay. So this is my designer. On the left-hand side, I have all the different questions type that is supported by to design a survey. Here are different 3 tabs. The design tab where you drag and drop different survey questions. On the configuration tab where you set the introduction notes, the end notes, and there are a couple of other settings that you can do, like for how long this survey will remain active before it gets expired, or the pagination setting I was talking about. So you can set how your survey will be paginated when the survey loads up onto the end user device. And then who can access this survey. So you can assign it to specific users or specific group of users. So let me do one thing. So I'll load up a pre-created survey in the interest of time. But as I showed, this is how easy it is to drag and drop and design your questions. So I'll go ahead and load a survey here. Okay, so survey webinar demo. So this is the survey I just created for our demo purpose. In this survey, I try to put all the different questions that are possible. So if you see, we have this particular questions type is the ranking question. So you can rank the different options type. And we do support to add the image onto a questions type, and this is the image scale questions, and you can have the images like smiley faces or thumbs up and thumbs down to make a more modern looking survey instead of having a lot of text on the surveys. So let me go ahead and assign this survey and show how easy and how it looks onto the end user device. So I'll go ahead and leave survey. This is my survey webinar demo. So there are multiple ways you can assign the survey. You can directly assign survey from here. So I'll use this option, or you can set a trigger condition and send out this survey when a particular event happens in your platform. So I'll go ahead, I'll pick the system admin because that's what I'm logged in as. And let me also pick one assessment so we can look both the survey and assessment experience together. So I'll go under assessments. Similarly, I created one assessment for the demo purpose. So I'll go ahead and assign this one as well to the system admin. And let's go to the service portal. So there is this is the old the desktop instance view. If you see, this is how it shows up, and then if I click the text assessment, everything will render within this page, and then there was no pagination. The alignment was not right for certain question if you have a lot of text. So all those issues have been fixed and in this responsive design based on the service portal. So let's go to the service portal homepage. So this is the survey and assessment widget we available as part of your instance out of the box. So go to any portal and you can add this widget in there. So I just assigned these 2 surveys to system admin. So let's click on that. Get started. And you see we have the paginations now, and the pagination the default setting is based on the category. So in the category 1, I have these different questions. This is the multiple select questions. This is the ranking question I was talking about, and so we support drag and drop, or you can fill up the manual content in here, and you go ahead and click next. Fill up the required questions. This is how the image scaling questions work. For example, this if I want to click on here, you can have 2 images in your question setup. One image which will in the unselected state, and the second one is how the transition will look if it is selected. And I'll go ahead and submit this survey. So you see everything is very nicely aligned. and it is fully, the mobile friendly, right? So as I'm making my browser smaller, it is adjusting itself, and if it's a mobile view, it will automatically render one question per page, which makes sense for the mobile device. And I'll go ahead and submit. And so this is the new survey and assessment taking experience. Similarly, if I go to the assessment records, and these are my different categories. What the assessment is, I want to evaluate the RMA approvers, and you can have the different questions. So I'll go ahead and click next. And you can make all those other settings, like to make the questions mandatory, to make the response anonymous, and everything. All the options are in there. You can send the dependent questions. If you select option 1 in question 1, the second will show up, and things like that. So this is a really long assessment. So you get the idea. So I'll come back onto the home page, and let me show you the reporting experience now. So I will go ahead and go into the view surveys, and this is the survey we just took. So I'm in a demo. If you go under the related link, there is a View scorecard, which is a pre-canned survey report, and it is always updated as soon as you take the survey reports. So you can look at it as 2 different ways. Either you can look at the results based, the per question, or you can look at the aggregated result for the entire category. And this is how these different, depending on. So I don't have a good demo data, otherwise you can really see the different kind of graphs. And if you want a more, the more granular reports, of course, you can leverage the ServiceNow platform reporting. The table name for where all these survey and assessment results are stored is ASMT_metric_results. And there you can create all different kind of visualizations and a more detailed report. Okay, so I'll go back to my slide deck here. So this was
Manjeet. If I'm still on Istanbul or an older version of ServiceNow, can I get these new features?
Unfortunately, no, because the new survey and assessment application is built on a new assessment evaluation engine, which bring us all these the new ranking functionality and the normalization functionality behind the scene. We don't have all those the framework available in the legacy survey evaluation methods. And our plan is I think in next release or next 2 releases, we plan to deprecate the legacy survey, because we want customers to get the benefit of the new survey and assessment application, which is more advanced, the new feature set, and much easier to use.
Great, thank you.
All right, moving on. Let's jump into the benchmarks. So some of you who have seen benchmarks on the High Service portal, we released the first version of benchmarks in the Istanbul timeframe back in October 2016. And that version was the limited version of benchmarks. We had only 6 KPIs, mainly from the incident process.
So what exactly is a benchmark? Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So benchmarks is comparing your service performance on the key KPIs. And the key KPI is what is important here, because you could be tracking hundreds of different KPIs, but what are the most important KPIs that the IT executive or CIO cares about? And comparing performance of those KPIs against your peers, the peers which are in the same industry, which have the same size of deployment, and then finding out what is working well and what is not working well, and can have the meaningful conversation. So the one example I have is So this picture here, this is the picture, the screenshot of my home energy, electricity energy usage coming from the Pacific Gas and Electric. And they give this nice benchmark to me every month, and I really like it because they give me this month-over-month graph telling me how is my energy usage at my home compared to the similar houses in my area. So so then I can look at, hey, am I leaving a lot of my lights turned on unnecessarily, or my appliances are really old, and they do give some helping recommendations on how you can improve your energy usage. So basically, benchmarks is comparing your performance against a standard baseline.
Great.
Okay. So why we are doing benchmarks in the ITSM? Well, there are more than one problem in the ITSM, and what benchmarks are available today. So number one is all the benchmarks that you have access to from different benchmarks provider. They are all based on the manually filled surveys, which means that the survey is sent out to a few people, and then they collect the response. They're questionable, biases can be involved, and so on and so forth. The second is these surveys are not updated for a long time. Some of these surveys, if you look at the surveys from just to name like Gartner-based surveys or other, you see those surveys not updated for a year or two. So there is no real-time insight into what's happening into the key KPI comparisons. And then getting this access to these surveys is very costly. Some companies, some customer that I talk to, they specifically create a project around the benchmarking and have to spend thousands of dollars to get some level of benchmarks. So with the ServiceNow benchmarks, we have addressed all those issues, and we are bringing benchmarks on your fingertips within your instance. So starting from Jakarta, you have access to a benchmark app that is available in your ServiceNow Jakarta instance, and you can see the comparison, a month-over-month comparisons, which is coming out of the real data, the real power coming from the ServiceNow nonstop cloud, and this data is we are not just talking about just a few hundred customers. This is the benchmark is coming out based on the thousands and thousands of customers, the aggregation and the normalizations. And so in summary, the ServiceNow benchmarks let you easily compare your service management performance against your peers, and that is pretty powerful because what is working well and what is not working well, and then can work on finding out the gaps. And this is the whole, basically, the theme of this webinar, how these different tools like survey and assessment or benchmarks or performance analytics that I'll talk in a minute, they can help in driving the continual service improvements. Okay, so let's a quick look into what are the key enhancements in the Jakarta version of benchmarks. These enhancements are on top of what some of you may have seen in the high version of benchmarks, which is available on the high service portal. So the one problem or the limitation we had on the high benchmarks is the KPI was defined by ServiceNow. And if you have done customizations in your instance, there was no way for you to align your customization with the KPI. So we are bringing that flexibility into the Jakarta, so you can configure your KPI, align that KPI definitions with your as per your customizations that you may have done. You may have created a new table, you may have created a new field, so you can with a single click, you can align with that. And I'll show this during my live demo. The integration with PA. So PA is our performance analytics product, which is available into our product portfolio from last few releases. So PA lets you create reports based on the timeline series, so you can easily figure out what's happening month over month. You can create a nice visualization dashboard for the different personas. So it made real sense, and this was also asked from the customer that, hey, if you are using PA, can you bring benchmarks and PA functionality together? So this is available in the Jakarta as well. New KPIs. So we have significantly enhanced the KPI portfolio. So if you look at the high, all the KPIs are from the incident management. But in the Jakarta release, we have the KPIs from all across the ITSM processes, incident, problem, change, service catalog, knowledge base, and as well as the beyond ITSM. We have the KPIs from ITOM as well. And the new Jakarta benchmark visualization is built on this, again, the service portal technology, and this gives the benefits of having it the fully interactive and the responsive designs, which means you can use the benchmarks on whatever device you like.
So what is going to happen to the benchmarks in high?
So good question. So benchmarks on high was the first attempt to get the feedback from the customers and to get a sense if customers are okay and willing to participate in the benchmarks and willing to share their high-level usage data on the benchmark KPIs. So we will continue to support high benchmarks, I'll say, for a while until most of the customers are moved to Jakarta and beyond. But we don't plan to include any new KPIs on the high version. So the high version stays the basic functionality. You cannot change your KPI definitions. Only 6 KPIs are available. And things like that. To leverage the full benefits and within the instance integration, easy analysis and reporting, and so you don't have to go into the high service portal, and any new future enhancement will come only in the instance version of benchmarks. So my recommendation says if you are moving to your instance into Jakarta release, then get the benefit of in-product benchmarks because high benchmarks is just a limited and starting point. Okay, so what steps you have to do to participate in the Jakarta benchmarks? So you have to do a manual opt-in. So we built a benchmark app in your which is available to all the ITSM and ITOM customers, and it is activated by default as part of the new install and also as part of the upgrade. So once you are opted in, you can go through your KPI validation to make sure that the KPI definitions are matching as per your understanding and as per your implementation, because this will help in a better comparison, and it will also help in a long-term help in having a better quality data, because as more and more customers validate their KPI definitions, the overall the benchmark data quality will improve. One note here, you cannot opt into benchmark from your non-prod dev or QA or staging instance because benchmarks comparison are only for the production instances. We don't want any non-prod instance to participate and pollute the benchmark data, because the comparison is only against your production instance versus all the production instance in that particular peer group.
So if I choose not to opt into benchmarks, can I still see my peers' information?
The answer is no. The opt-in is mandatory to see the benchmarks, because all the the usage collection jobs will only start once you have opted in. And opted in is just basically we want to make sure that you are aware that the benchmark is running into your instance, and more importantly, we want you to go through the KPI validation, which is important to do a more apple-to-apple comparison rather than that we delivered some KPI definition, which we think is standard as per the best practices and ITIL, but you may be using the instance in a complete different way. All right, so this is the list of KPIs. If you see, we have a very good coverage across all the ITSM applications and processes. On incident, we have 5 KPIs: problem, change, the service catalog, and the knowledge base. And then we have KPIs from the ITOM around the CNDB health. We have 3 KPIs from there. And this KPI portfolio will keep increasing because this benchmark is a generic platform type framework that we built in Jakarta. And in the future releases, you will see more and more product teams and will be joining the benchmark. So we'll see benchmarks coming from, if you are a customer service management customer, then you will see benchmarks coming from that team. Or if you are a HR customer or the security operation customer. So all those teams will be adding their KPIs, allowing their customers to get leverage the benefits of benchmarks and the comparison.
So can I create my own KPIs?
You cannot add into the app, but we are always open to get the feedback on what new KPIs you want to see in the future releases. So you can give your feedback through all the channels, like on the community, or sending out an email to the benchmark, the feedback team, or open an enhancement request onto the HI. And if we see a common need across all the customers, we will bring that KPI in the next release. All right, so let's see the Jakarta benchmarks in action. So I'll be switching to my Jakarta demo instance. So first, let me close these survey tabs. So benchmarks, if you go to the application navigator and search for benchmarks, all the ITSM and ITOM customer will see these 2 application menu items: benchmark setup and benchmark dashboard. If you click on the setup, this is where you opt into your benchmarks. So I already opted into my instance. Otherwise, you will see one more transition screen before you see the KPI list, where you will say, okay, opt me in. But once you are here, you have 2 tabs on the top: the KPIs from the ITSM and the KPIs from the ITOM. This is the KPI list. You have the full granular control on which KPI you want to participate. So you can use this toggle button to turn a KPI on and off. And if a KPI is turned off, which means that there'll be no collection on that particular KPI, and you will not see that KPI in your benchmark reports. How to change the KPI definition. So you see, if I go into a KPI, this pencil icon shows up. If I'll click on this icon here, this will bring up the entire description of what is my KPI definition. So this is our standard definition out of the box. So high priority means the priority P0 and P1. But let's say if your definition is different, then hey, I'm a customer, I don't have the P0 field in my table. I may be also tracking P2 as my high priority. So things like that. So you have the full control on how you want what data should be collected for this particular KPI definition. So you can go ahead and map all the conditions and the source table If you're using a different table, you go to the advanced and then pick up the table that you want to use for this particular KPI, and go ahead and click Save. And from that point on, all the new collection will happen based on the my defined or my validated KPI. Of course, you can decide to opt out from the benchmarks anytime. So under this the KPI table, you have this opt out from benchmarks. Once you opt out, you will stop seeing the benchmarks immediately, and all the related benchmark collection will stop. Okay, so you are opted in, you validated your KPIs and definitions, and this is done by the benchmark admin. So we gave 2 roles out of the box, the benchmark admin. So this could be your system admin, or if you want to delegate this work to somebody else, you can assign that benchmark admin role. And then the monthly benchmark reports are visualized in the benchmark dashboard. So if I just click on this dashboard menu icon here, and this open up the benchmark visualization into the service portal. So here you see this is a new UI, the card-based UI we specifically built for the better mobile experience, because these cards render really well on the mobile devices and very easy to interact with. So the first tab here, I'm in the ITSM. To switch to ITOM, you click on here and pick the ITOM. And then we have these different tabs to make it easier to find KPIs related to a particular process. For example, if I want to look at the KPIs in the service catalog, I'll go and all the KPIs are listed here. How to read these card values? One note here, the data you are seeing, this is a demo instance. It is a demo data. So if any values you see 0 or high-low value, this is a entirely demo data. So what in the middle of the card, this is the value of your instance, the monthly value. So what we are looking at is the benchmark report for July 2017, and this value is the global aggregation of all the participating customers. So you can see on this KPI, I am at par with the global benchmarks. However, on this KPI, I'm doing better than the global benchmarks, and on this KPI, I'm doing bad compared to the global benchmarks. If you want to compare against your industry peer group or your same size company peer group, you come here and you pick either the industry vertical filters. Let's say I'm a customer in the education industry. I'll pick, and you notice these values change because now my KPI comparison is compared to all the customers in the particular industry.
How many people? Sorry, how many people are in a peer group?
In the ITSM world, these peer groups are really, really big. And the reason I used the word really 2 times because on incident KPIs, the number is in thousands. And on the problem and change KPIs, the number is in the more than 500. And this number is increasing as we are bringing more customer onboards onto the benchmarks. This entire size bucket is increasing every month. Another thing we make sure is because at ServiceNow we take the data privacy very seriously, so we secure all the benchmarks data the same way as we secure your production instances. And we make sure that any new filter bucket we provide, it has minimum at least 20 participants. If it doesn't meet that criteria, we don't even think about creating that filter bucket. So any new filter comparisons we are bringing in the next release, for example, the geo region filters and more dynamic peer-based filters. We'll make sure that we have at least 20 participants, so the data is fully at the aggregated level. It is a high-level data aggregated at all the instance level, and then it is highly anonymized, and the minimum participation is 20, but most of our buckets are in hundreds and thousands. Okay, So let's, you see here, there are two switcher. So far we were looking at the card view. So we are still supporting the list view, which you may have seen in the high version of benchmarks, because list view is very useful if you want to see all your KPIs into one place in a kind of a single snapshot. So here we have the KPI names, the benchmark value, the your instance value, and the monthly change. So monthly change is in the relation to the change happening in your KPI performance compared to the last month, and this is helpful in telling you if you are trending in the right or wrong direction for that particular KPI. So you can take the corrective action quickly if you are, let's say, green last month, and now from in this month you are trending in the red, the wrong direction. So you can look into the data and find out what's happening. So I'll switch back to the card view. So if you click on the card, this will bring up the visualization, a trend view of the last 6-month data, and a comparison with your instance and the filter you have selected here. So now you're looking at this trend view comparisons with the education industry, and these trend view is very helpful because this tells you how you are comparing in month-over-month basis, and you can spot out if there are any macro level industry trend or global trends, and or if there are any seasonality related trend, for example, the Christmas season or the the year end. If my MTTR, the mean time to resolve, is going up or down, and things like that. And is it just for me, or the entire industry or the entire global bucket value is impacted? You can see the KPI definitions here. This is visible to all the users who will have the benchmark viewer role. So you have the full control on who can see these benchmarks. So you can assign the benchmark viewer roles to everybody in the company, or you can assign it to the people that you think will use the benchmarks on a month-over-month basis. Another feature is you can now download the benchmark report and share it with the customers. And this was again a continuous request from customers. Hey, I want to download this report and share it with my management. All right, so switching back to the slide deck. So we just looked at the Jakarta features in a live demo. So moving on. So let me go over a use case, how benchmarks, reports, and monthly data insight can help you in driving the continual service improvement. So this is a real scenario. So our ServiceNow IT team also using the benchmarks on their instance. So in month of December, so they started participating in benchmark in November, and then this is the snapshot of month of December, and they found out that their performance is doing bad on these two KPIs. Average time to close an incident, the peer group is 9 days, and they were closing in 10 days. And the incident closed in the first assignment, this particularly was really bad because there's a 38% versus 68%. So what is the next step from here? So the IT team started analyzing the underlying data and see what's happening, why these two KPIs are doing bad compared to our peers, and what we can do to improve. So you can use the ServiceNow platform reporting or the performance analytic app within your platform, and you can start analyzing the underlying data. So, and to do this analysis, what is important is to understand this the cause and effect relationship, because you have to find out which are the KPIs, the leading KPIs that are impacting the lagging KPIs. For example, the mean time to resolve is a lagging KPI because this is after the kind of the fact, once the incident is closed. But what happened during the incident life cycle? Maybe there are reassignment happening for the incident, and if the reassignment is happening, the time is getting lost. The incidents are not getting picked up on time for 7 days or 30 days. The work is getting ignored. Your backlog is not properly managed and categorized, and the incident complexity is not well managed. You're not assigning the right priorities to the incidents and not assigning them to the right category. So our IT team started start doing the analysis, starting from the leading indicators, and what they found out is after the analysis, they found out a few areas or few gaps where they can make the improvements. And from the incidents, they started working on improving the category selections on our service portal. There were many incidents which coming from the emails and the walk into service desk. So encourage employees to use more of the service portal, because there you have the opportunity to deflect incidents through a knowledge base and a better search. And a few more, like create more KB articles, find out the training opportunities. We had some new employees in our help desk team, and that's so that were causing this reassignment count to high because they were not trained on some of the areas. So this so after taking those remediation action, after 3 months in March 2017. The performance on these two KPIs improved quite a bit. So the average time to close an incident here, this came down from 9.2 days to 7.5 days. And this one really, the training part and then creating more KB articles really helped the performance on this KPI, the first assignment count, really beating the industry average now. So this is one example how you can use the benchmark data insight, and you may be thinking I'm doing good, but when you really compare with the industry and your peer group, you may be surprised to see, hey, you may not be doing really good across all your KPIs. And this is not a one-time step that, hey, now in this case all my KPIs are in green and I'm done. No, this is a continuous journey. You can set your goals and target. You may have a goal to become the best in the industry. I want to be top 10 in top 10% of my industry and things like that. And what you do is you use the benchmarks, you use the performance analytics and reporting functionality to look at the benchmarks and then keep finding out the new opportunities for the improvements. So I also have one example for how to use the benchmarks and performance analytics, because I think this is very one of the valuable point if you can get out from this webinar is both the benchmark and the performance analytics are available into your platform, and even PA the performance analytics provide a complimentary version to our customers, so you can get at least the initial benefit of the performance analytics on the incident-related KPIs, and that can help in a faster and quicker root cause analysis when you are working on finding the performance gaps. So some of the benefits of this integration is the KPI change scenario. We see how easy it is to change the KPI conditions to map your definitions. The one-click drill down analysis from the benchmark reports into the underlying data set. So you can only looking at what's feeding into this KPI, and you can divide them on the different, look at the data by weekly, monthly, and across different priorities, across different assignment group and priorities. And you can also have the prediction and the goals target set in our PA, and the prediction is based on your historical data. So you can plot out a trend based on the historical data that what's likely to happen in the next 3 months. Spotlight is another very useful feature which helps you to be more proactive. So this slide is there's a lot of text and graphs in here, but the two things if you can focus on here is this right side area. So here this area helps you in analyzing the leading indicators. So for example, you can look at how many incidents are not updated in 5 days, how many incidents are not getting picked up, number of reassignment and things like that. And you can have a ranking score which helps you, all your service desk agent, to know what are the items which are at the top risk at the business service level or at the incident level, where you should be more focused on. Maybe SLA is expiring, or maybe this is a high priority incident and need more attention. So this can give you an aggregated score, and this score you can go ahead and define your criteria in the PA. So bringing all this together, so how to use benchmark, survey and assessment, and performance analytics to drive your continuous service improvement. So we see survey and assessment is helpful to get the feedback on the customer satisfaction and your service desk quality. So you can send out the survey and assessment, have the data on those KPIs. You can have the additional key KPIs that we are already delivering in the benchmarks. You can start measuring your performance, looking at your value, and then comparing your performance with the peer groups, the second step in here. Once you know your comparison against the baseline, and this baseline is a real time, it is refreshed automatically, it is available to you every month within your instance. Then you start analyzing and diagnosing where are the performance gap, on which KPIs am I doing good and I need to do better. And then after doing those analysis using platform reporting and performance analytics, you can come up with the prescriptions. And we just looked at the one example, how our ServiceNow IT team leveraged the benchmark reports, figured out what are the two KPIs which were performing poorly, and they came up with those the improvement actions or remediation actions. They improved the categorizations, they improved the knowledge base, and some of these are like the best practices that we ignore in our deployments, right? Hey, this is how you should be using the incident management, whether it's the ITIL best practices or the best practices coming from the ServiceNow, the guided setup. So guided setup is another tool we have in the product, if you haven't explored, which comes with a pre-configured content pack that you can use to standardize your deployments as per the best practices to get more out of your platform and faster time to value. So if you see this, going through this, leveraging the monthly benchmarks is really helpful in driving the CSI, but the end result is the better customer satisfaction and lowering the total cost of ownership for your service and support deliveries. So few key takeaways here. So ServiceNow benchmarks gives you a front row seat to the real performance of your service management globally. We have total 16 KPIs that you can leverage as soon as you are on your Jakarta instance. Benchmarks, PA, and survey combined for a powerful tool. We saw the real examples and the live demo, how you can use all three together to get the most out of your ServiceNow deployments. If you are a Jakarta customer, I would highly recommend going to your Jakarta instance and opt in, not just looking at your high benchmarks. High benchmarks is limited. We are committed to improve the benchmarks more and more in the futures, because this is a really powerful functionality. The feedback so far from all the customer is very overwhelming, and customer have been asking for more KPIs, better comparisons, and more filtering capabilities that we will bring into the future releases. If you happen to have not a ServiceNow customer, so here is something for you in here. Go to our servicenow.com. This is the URL. And you can look at some of the high-level reports to get an idea of what benchmarks is, what benefits you can get out of it, and you'll be surprised to see some of the high-level industry insight we have put out put out there for the the entire ITSM market, whether you're a customer or not a customer.
Thank you, Manju.
All right, and I think.
So we have a couple of resources for you that you could use in the future. The product documentation site link is on this presentation, which will be loaded onto the customer community, and also a link to the complete release notes for Jakarta. We do have links to the ITSM guides in the community, live Q&A sessions, blogs, and discussions. Also, I want to recommend on the ITSM guides community, we have a list of the other webinars that we will be holding, and please take a look at those, and if they're of interest to you, please sign up for them. So the additional Jakarta webinars that we have on the schedule are August 23rd, Service Level Management, and on September 6th, Service Catalog Enhancements. Okay, so we're done with the main portion of the webinar. We'd like to go to questions and answers. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen today, please type them into the Q&A area, and we will take those questions and answer them here.